Welcome to the Pantheon. My name's Hydo, and we're going to have a look at the top 5 cards for the Chosen Commander. And it's one of those flippy-floppy, you can choose whichever side you want commanders. But I think you should really focus on one side of them. So today, we're going to be having a look at Shaile, Dean of Radiance, who weighs in at 2 mana. Very cheap, maybe not endlessly recastable, but if it dies a few times, we can certainly bring him back. Pretty good. Let's have a look at his abilities. So, he's a bird cleric with flying and vigilance. And then the ability to tap, put a 1/1 counter on each creature that enter the battlefield under your control this turn. So, the good thing is, he's got vigilance, we can attack him with him, and then use his ability afterwards. Excellent. And then he's a 1/1, which is pretty weak, but it's a start. We can move onwards and upwards from that. So what do we want to do with the deck? We want to make everything get 1/1 counters and then use them in various different ways. So without further ado, let's move to number 5. Number 5, we've got Josu Ves, Lich Knight, who's 4 mana for a 4/5. Zombie Knight. Kicker is 6 mana, so 10 mana total. When he enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, create 8 2/2 black zombie knight creature tokens with menace. Now, for 10 mana, we can get a bunch of bodies, 9 altogether, and our commander can put a 1/1 counter on every single one of them. This sort of card is brilliant. It's an army in a can. You know, worst comes to the worst, we can just play him as a 4 mana 4/5 with menace. But we can have an incredibly large evasive battlefield. Similar to this, we've got Precursor Golem, who's a 5 mana 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, put 2 3/3 Colorless Golem artifact creature tokens onto the battlefield. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell that targets a single golem, that player copies that spell for each other golem it could target. Then you just cast all those copies. Great card, enters the battlefield, another mini army. Strixhaven Stadium is a very interesting mana rock that's only just come out. So it's an artifact for 3 mana. Tap, add a colorless mana, put a point counter on Strixhaven Stadium. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, remove a point counter from it. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, put a point counter on it. And then, if you have 10 or more point counters, remove them all, and that player loses the game. So it's a win condition in a mana rock. It's next level stuff. But with our evasive sort of zombie tokens and Josu Ves himself, we'll be able to get through. And our commander has flying and vigilance, so likelihood is we can get through with her. And the counters thing comes up slightly later. Rise of the Dreadman is 3 mana for an instant. Create X 2/2 black zombie berserker creature tokens, where X is the number of non-token creatures that died this turn. Foretell for 1. Foretell means you can put it face down for 2, and then at any point turn it face up and cast it for its foretell cost. So this is a great insurance policy. So if we extend our board, and then everyone else extends the board, and then there's a board wipe, we get a token for every single creature that died, which is very powerful and can really push us into winning the game. On this front, we've got a couple of other interesting creatures that make tokens. So Militant Angel is a 5 mana something. I don't know, Harmonious Archon's in the way. With flying and lifelink, when it enters the battlefield, create a number of 2/2 white knight creature tokens with vigilance equal to the number of opponents you attack this turn. So if we're getting in with our commander, we can then play this, get a bunch of 2/2s, and then tap our commander to put 1/1 cancel on all of them. Silverwing Squadron is a very similar sort of card. So 6 mana for a star with flying and vigilance. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures I control, so it works excellently in a token-based strategy. When it attacks, create a number of 2/2 white knight creature tokens with vigilance equal to the number of opponents you have. So in commander, it's generally going to be 3, could be 4, 5, 6, if you hate everything about yourself. Easily creating a little army, and then our commander puts 1/1 cancel on all of them. Harmonious Archon, 6 mana for a flying 4/5. Non-Archon creatures have base power and toughness 3/3. Can pump up our little tokens, but also, if we have large creatures like the Silverwing, could bring them crashing back to being just a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 white human creature tokens. So again, creates a nice little army for us. Brings on to number 4. A lot of those creatures had entered the battlefield. So we want to reuse them so to be able to grow our, rising army. Semester's End is another brand new card. 4 mana for an instant. Exile any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of the next end step, return each of them to the battlefield under its owner's control. Each of them enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter if it's a creature, an additional loyalty counter on it if it's a planeswalker. So, saves our creatures from board wipes, and then we get all of the enter the battlefield effects. And they all get +1/+1. So, it just does everything we want it to do. And if it say we're not going to be saving our creatures from a board wipe, the fact that you can exile any number of target creatures means you could leave your commander on the field, everything else comes back, and then we tap our commander to put a counter on everything that's just entered. Works really quite well, I think. Along the same sort of lines, we've got Restoration Angel, 4 mana 3/4 with flash and flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-angel creature you control, then returns to the battlefield under your control. Re-triggers enter the battlefield effects. Very, very powerful. And then we've got 2 cards that are very, very similar. Ghostway is a 3 mana instant. Remove each creature you control from the game. Return those creatures to play under their owner's control at the end of turn. Excellent board wipe insurance, although it does remove our commander. Commander comes back though. Eerie Interlude is a 3 mana instant. Exile any number of target creatures you control. Return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of next end step. So this is much better than Ghostway, and it's a lot cheaper as well. I don't quite know why Ghostway is so expensive, but Eerie Interlude is great as we can leave our commander on the field. Brings on to number 3. Yawgmoth Thran Physician. 4 mana for a 2/4. Human Cleric. He has protection from humans, so he's not that friendly. Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature. Put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature and draw a card. Pay 2, discard a card, Proliferate. Now, the main reason we want to be spelling him is he works incredibly well with tokens, and obviously we've just shown we're producing a lot of tokens, but he also has built-in Proliferate. So, if we get a 1/1 counter on all of our team, we can Proliferate, get another 1/1 counter, and just keep building up and up and up. Absolutely great. Yawgmoth is an absolute house, but there are a couple of other Proliferate cards we could play. Contagion Engine is a 6 mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature target players controls. Then, fall and tap it, Proliferate, then Proliferate again. So, we're going to be getting our army bigger and bigger and bigger, and because you can target any counter, all the -1/-1 counters will be doubled as well, wiping the board. And that mana rock from earlier, the stadium, that will have its counters increased as well, which is really, really cool. Khan's Bastion is a land, so lands that have effects are always incredibly powerful. There's 0 cost to putting them in. Tap for a colourless, pay 4, tap, Proliferate. Great. Grateful Apparition is a 2 mana 1/1 flyer, and when it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, Proliferate. Great little dude. Proliferates. Grows the army. If it had first strike, it'd be slightly better, but it's still pretty good. Which brings us on to number 2. Number 2, Retribution of the Ancients. A 1 mana enchantment. It's really cool and very specific to this deck. It's not a card you'd put in a lot of different decks. Pay a black, remove X 1/1 counters from among creatures you control. Target creature gets -X until end of turn. This is a great little thing. It can get rid of indestructible creatures, Sailors and Ulamog, but you've got 12 counters spread out. Remove all those counters, Ulamog's dead. It's great. It's a really cool card. Or if you want to deal with a lot of little things, just pay a black for each one. Give, -2/-2. Excellent, excellent card. And removal is a key part of Black-White's identity. So, what other ways can we use removal in this sort of deck? Drake's Town Forgotten is a 5 mana 0/0. It enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. Pay 3 and remove a 1/1 counter. Drakestown from Drakestown Forgotten. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Another excellent little removal spell. Shine Wend is a 2-mana 0/0 that comes into play with a 1/1 counter. Pay 2, remove a 1/1 counter. Shine Wend, destroy target enchantment. Cruel Sadist is designed by Edmund Macmillan. If you've ever played the Binding of Isaacs games, he's the maker of them. And he's made a bunch of other great little Flash games and stuff years ago. Cruel Sadist is a 1-mana 1/1. Can pay a black and tap her. Pay 1 life. Put a 1/1 counter on Cruel Sadist. Pay 3 and tap it. Remove X 1/1 counters from Cruel Sadist. Cruel Sadist deals X damage to target creature. All of these excellent little removals that really make use of the extra 1/1 counters that our commander can give to things. But we've also got a couple of removal spells that are really good with the tokens side of this deck. Start to Finish is one of my favourite cards. 3 mana for an instant, create 2 1/1 White Warrior creature tokens with Vigilance. So, nice little bit of board state. And then, Finish, which has Aftermath, meaning you cast it from your graveyard, says, as an additional cast, the cost of this, sacrifice a creature. Destroy target creature. So, bit of board presence and a removal spell all in one. Dreadhorde Invasion is a 2-mana enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep. You lose 1 life and amass 1. Amass means you get a 0/0 army token and you put a 1/1 counter on it. Or, if you already have an army, you add a 1/1 counter onto it. This works really well. It makes a token and it synergizes with the +1/+1 sort of strategy. If we've got some sacrifice outlets, each turn we're getting a creature we can sacrifice. Pretty good. Martial Coup is a 2 white and X sorcery. Create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. If X is more than 5, destroy all other creatures. So again, you wipe the board, you get a massive board state. Really, really good. And it's modal. If you only pay 4, you're just getting 4 1/1s. Not the best use of mana, but it can lead to some game-winning states because you've got a little army. Now, moving on to number 1. It's Twilight Drover. I talked about a few cards there that worked well with +1/+1 counters and tokens. This does both. Twilight Drover is a 3-mana 1/1. Whenever a creature token leaves the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on Twilight Drover. Pay 3 and remove a 1/1 counter from Twilight Drover. Put 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flight onto the battlefield. It does everything the deck wants to do. It makes tokens. It works really well with +1/+1s. It's great. I can do a couple of other cards that are very similar to this. Custody Soulbinders, a 4-mana 0/0, where it enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield. So if you've got a big army, we're going to have a big dude with lots of 1/1 counters. Pay 3, remove a 1/1 counter, create a 1/1 flying spirit token with flying. Very similar, but it isn't quite as powerful. It doesn't generate its own ability. Noosegraph Mob is a 6-mana 0/0, enters the battlefield with 5 1/1 counters. Then, whenever a player casts a spell, remove a 1/1 counter, and if you do, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. It works really well with +1/+1 counters, and it makes you a nice little army when our opponents cast things. Finally, there's Pentavus, which is 7 mana, enters the battlefield with 5 1/1 counters. Pay 1, remove a 1/1 counter from Pentavus. Create a 1/1 colorless Pentavite artifact creature token with flying. Then, pay 1, sacrifice a Pentavite, put a 1/1 counter on Pentavus. Works both ways, tokens and +1/+1 counters. Lovely bit of synergy. And that is all the cards that I've thought of for this commander. It's really quite a cool commander. I much prefer the other side. I think it's a lot more interesting. And if you want to know about that specific side, there's going to be a video coming out tomorrow, which will show you my favourite 5 cards for that. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. Bye.